All right, I think we're good. What's up? How is everybody tonight? It is good to see all of you in here. As you can see, I am currently by myself on the stream, but I have good news. Can you hear me now, Ben? Okay. What's up, Crank? Thanks for stopping in here, man. If anybody likes some good music, go over to Crank Crank Beats on YouTube. He's my buddy in high school who's been grinding out the music game for a while. Is it still unsynced? Is it good now? Yeah, I had some issues when it started. It's only when I hit start stream that it does this. But like I was saying, Papa Blood is not here as you can see, but we moved some things around, so he will be here very, very soon to join us so we can get into week 5. But it is good to see all of you in the chat. Like I said, everybody go check out my buddy Crank Beats on YouTube. He's a great dude and he's climbing up. He's gonna be good one day, or he's already good, but he's gonna make it big one day, and I just know it. So go show him some love. On cue, Papa Blood rolling in. There he is.
What's going on, everybody? How's it going tonight?
But Johnny Small Pepper, Tim, Ben, Crank, Crafty, everybody that's in here, whether you're in the chat or not, it is good to see you all on another fine day on It's in the Blood.
You got a lot of stuff to do today.
Oh yeah, we got a big slate, and man, this week was hectic. Look, we talked about it in our picks. We were like, okay, this is the week. Everything goes back to normal. It calms down, the NFL chills out, and we get what we signed up for. No. We were completely wrong. Week 4 started slowing down. Week 5 just hit us like a ton of bricks again. From the good, the bad, the ugly, we still don't know what's going on. We've got teams that we didn't know that could win as winning. Teams that we didn't know that were going to be bad are losing. But on the bright side, I finally tallied it all up.
Yeah, here we go. You should be tied with me, right?
Both went 11-5 this week, which puts my total at 44-35 and your total at 47-32.
Wow.
I made a game. I inched a game closer. So you know what? We both had our best weeks. Well, you went 12-4 last week, so that's a lie. But I had my best week for a second week in a row, and I'm feeling pretty good about it, even though I still did not be. I'm still taking it all in. I know I've had a couple days, but I'm still taking it all in. This week was wild. New York for the win. Yeah, it was fun. I love football, man. Like I can't say much more than that. I just love football.
You know, if the NFC East was to play like they were supposed to play, and the AFC West was to play like I thought they were going to play at the beginning of the year, do you realize how good we would both be right now?
I mean, I'm sitting right where I want. I look.
No, I just feel like we would be in a better position because that's kind of where we really felt everything was going. What's in the water in Philly? Crack.
Haterade.
Gatorade.
Better response than crack. Haterade.
Yeah, Philly's got everything they need to win.
But I'm going to kick this off. We're going to time travel back 2 months ago to Thursday Night Football. So the big question, talking in the recap and our reactions to this game. So my big question for you is, who's worse, the Denver Broncos or the Indianapolis Colts? And don't start with, well, the Colts won. I don't think that matters. Which team is worse, the Denver Broncos or the Indianapolis Colts?
Man, I think can I call that a tie?
I think I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about the teams.
I agree. I think they both have quarterbacks that have shown greatness.
Like in their prime.
They both have decent defenses behind them. They both should be able to win games. However, they're not, and I think both of those problems starts with coaching. Nathaniel Hackett getting broken in, and Frank Reich kind of on his way out in my mind. I think that Matt Rule's gone. They cut him out, so Frank Reich's next on the hot seat.
Matt Rule broke the ice. They made the first move. Therefore, it's only a matter of time before we see these, coaches, the bad ones anyway, slowly start slipping out.
You're Crafty, but that's where I give the Colts a little bit more credit, because I think Jonathan Taylor is probably the best back in the AFC. Honestly, I really believe that. But there's something going on with that offensive line where he can't run the ball, and you tell me, because if he runs the ball, they're successful. Look at last year. Carson Wentz almost got into the playoffs because Jonathan Taylor could carry the ball. Wow.
I mean, Phillip Rivers did get into the playoffs with the Colts. People seem to forget that. I was so heavy on bringing Rivers back for one more year. I was, and everyone was like, "You're nuts. You're nuts." And I was like, "No." And then they signed Carson Wentz, and I said, "You'd rather have Carson Wentz than Phillip Rivers." Okay. And
they got what they got.
Jacksonville kept them out of the playoffs, but Carson Wentz in Indianapolis looked better than Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. So,
but the Colts go as Jonathan Taylor goes. That's their bread and butter. That's how they got where they got before.
Agreed.
And I don't think, and even with the boy that got hurt in Denver, I don't even think he's that type of back. I think he's a good back, but he was not a Jonathan Taylor type. He was more of a power
I think
runner.
Devontae Williams has just yet to find that hole where it's just his time to shine. And then this injury is going to keep him another year from finding that.
Yeah, so, Denver, I think Denver is going to keep sliding this year, but I think the Colts are going to hold their heads above water going forward. They may not.
I mean, that's anybody's division.
Oh, yeah.
That division is wide open.
Yeah, and that's just it. But see, that was the thing, is that everybody thought Wentz, Crafty was going to take them forward. We sit in here even before that whole summer, we sit in here the whole summer telling everybody that he was more cancerous and he was going to be the one that actually held them back. His numbers looked okay, but he just doesn't have that it factor that you need in a quarterback to win in the NFL this year. You're going to have guys like Mahomes, Allen, Herbert win you games. Those guys win you games. Carson Wentz isn't going to win you games. Carson Wentz is going to keep you in games.
Man, like, my thing is I don't know. Realistically, I thought both of these teams would be okay by the end of the season. I thought the Colts were going to finish higher than Denver in their standings in their division. Not more wins. I knew the Colts were taking a step back this year, but I didn't think it was going to be this ugly.
Crafty, I agree with that point 100%. If you just change the S on has to had. I think now with injuries, I think that the Colts have a better roster still intact.
But that's the thing. I told you, AFC South dumpster fire, the division of the year going into this season. It's so bad that through 5 weeks, the 1-3-1 Houston Texans have almost just as much of a shot to taking that division than anyone else. It's ugly, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know that there's much to talk about it. I think I can't even say who I think will finish with more wins. Like, at this point in time,
it'll be the Colts.
It could be, but it also, the Colts have the AFC West and the NFC West. The NFC West, not that great this year. AFC West has disappointed a lot, but they got a lot of tough games as well. And so, but the AFC, Denver, I think they have a better chance to win more games, but I think the Colts are the better football team.
Yeah, Crafty, and that's true. But, Russell Wilson should take a little bit of a learning curve from Baker Mayfield and stop. If he's hurt, get healed up and be the guy that he can be. Don't play hurt just because you want to be a team leader and be out there. That's obviously not the way to win in the NFL.
Well, Crafty, so are the Broncos. They've only played one division game, though. The Colts are in a little bit bigger the hole in terms of division games than the Broncos are. But yeah, neither of these teams are winless or have won in their division yet.
Yeah, Tim, I'm not sure who the backup is for Wilson.
I don't know. Wait, I remember watching him in preseason, and I was like, it was Josh Johnson.
Oh, I like Josh Johnson.
He played for like 42 teams in the league and out. But on to our next game. And my question to lead this one off, 2 questions actually. So the Giants, question mark, they are legit, question mark. That didn't mean to be 2 right there. And are the Packers okay?
Both answers are yes. But we're gonna. This is the theme for the season, and you and I we're gonna agree on this. I'm pretty sure. If you have the proper running game mix, I think that's what it takes. Now there's an exception to that when you talk about Cleveland right now, but there's other problems there. But if you have the proper running game in the NFL right now, and you can win as many football games as you want. So the Giants are going to be okay as long as Saquon is healthy. The other part of that question is I still think Green Bay is okay. I think there's something that Aaron Rodgers wants that he's not getting, and I think he's just kind of playing lethargic football, and I think he's doing it on purpose.
In this game, the Giants' defense, despite all of the injuries continuously racking up, managed to play elite football. And look, you can't even put this on the receivers. That last drive the Packers had, 2 back-to-back plays, the balls got batted down at the line of scrimmage. That's not the receiver's fault. Look,
no.
And I can't even say that that's Rodgers' fault. Like, I'm just saying, especially in the second half of this game, the Giants defense played incredible, and they've lost a lot of guys, offense and defense. And also, Daniel Jones, his hand, it was bleeding through part of this game. I don't know what happened. I remember looking up, I was at work, the TV, and I just see zoomed in on Jones's hand and a bunch of blood, and I was like, what? I got to find out what's going on. I never found out what was going on. But banged up, look, this is why they're winning. They ran the ball well, their defense played well, and Daniel Jones didn't make any mistakes. Look, Brian Daboll, they're going to ride and die by him. Look, I said that about the Lions with Campbell, but I think this is almost the same situation. Just they're having a better outcome earlier in, this head coach's career with them.
I agree, Crafty. I think a healthy Saquon, and here's the thing about that. Saquon Barkley didn't come back as soon as he was healed up. He waited until he was ready to play football, and that's real important with that injury. I really think that getting healthy, getting rehab.
Which injury?
Yeah, I know. I mean, but the ACL for sure.
Well, he did come back last year, and then he ripped his ankle, and so he only played his ankle was like this bigger than my head, and that's why he didn't play the rest of last year. I don't think he was sitting out because he wasn't ready. He just got hurt again.
Yeah, but being 100% on the field is more important. I think these guys need to heal up. I don't think they need to cave to pressure to go out and play as soon as they think they're ready. I think they ought to, they're getting paid enough money. They're commodities. They need to be, that's how you should protect your players. Don't put them back on the field until they're ready to be on the field. Get these guys healed up, because if Baker Mayfield would have had a chance to heal up last year, just think how different this season might look. He would probably still be in Cleveland. Who knows where Deshaun Watson would be?
Miami.
We know, yeah, more than likely. But, Baker Mayfield could have went back on his positive tear because he was playing pretty good football. Now he's in a system that he's not doing well in because he probably doesn't know it, and he looks bad.
And now he's hurt.
And now he's hurt. So guess what? Nobody's going to give him a chance next year.
Somebody's QB is going to face a short-term injury, and he will get a chance somewhere. I still believe that. I don't think he'll be a starter, but I do think he will have a chance. We'll get to the Panthers game in just a minute, but on to the Packers. My biggest problem with the Green Bay Packers right now is not the young receiving core, is not Aaron Rodgers, And this is where you might turn your head and you might agree with me, is going to come back on coaching. They have one of the, I'm not going to say the best, but one of the best running back duos in football, and they continuously will just go away and forget that they have that, and they will stop running the football. And that has cost them in games from going back from even last year and the year before when they were 13-4 those seasons. This game specifically, they stopped running the football and this game got out of control.
So let me turn that back and ask you a question. Is that Aaron Rodgers wanting to be efficient passer, or is that the coaching calling those plays over the run plays? Or is he just audibling out of the plays and going to what he wants to do anyway?
Now, the audible might be part of it, in certain, because Rodgers is a veteran QB at the end of the day. He's an excellent veteran QB that I still think has the potential to play MVP level football. Like, we talk about some of these older QBs, but I still think he has the potential to be playing MVP level football. He's just gotten a shift in his system, losing his safety blanket. Losing Devontae Adams has shifted his whole game. Like, he's had him for a couple years, and that's what he's used to. But if whether or not the audible thing may be a factor, I still think this is coaching, because I don't think this is Aaron saying, no, I need to. Because Aaron, on the games that he barely has to throw the ball, has a perfect passer rating, and that's all people talk about. They don't talk about the run game. They talk about how perfect is. He may complete 10 passes for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's only 10 passes. Either way, that can happen. Here we go. According to Grossi's channel, LaFleur called the pass plays, but Rodgers agreed with him on them. See, look, it's mutual between the two of them, but at the end of the day, I think LaFleur is still making the decisions. And, that's where I'm saying, like, that may be true, maybe not. I trust Grossi on Packers information more than I trust anyone else, but I think this is a LaFleur issue. He got comfortable along with Rodgers did with Adams. Look, he was gifted the Packers when he got this head coaching job. He had Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and they went 13-4 for like 3 years straight or something like that. So everything shifted, and I think him still as a relatively young head coach didn't handle the adjustment as well as he needed to as a person. And I think he'd be willing to admit that if he was asked that question.
So let me recant then. So so basically what I get out of what you're telling me is that, and this is how I would simplify it, this is LaFleur's 3rd season, correct?
I think 4th.
Okay, it's either his 3rd or his 4th. I know the first 2 he went 13-4, or
I think it was 3 years in a row they went 13-4.
So do you think that the rest of the NFL is just catching up with his playbook and he's not utilizing his running backs in that sense? Do you think it's just like kind of like look what we talk about with Cincinnati? Their playbook is the same as it was last year and everybody's ready for it. Is that the same thing? It is his 4th season. Yeah. But he's got but I just wonder if the rest of the NFL is just catching up to what he brought to the league. You always say that about a new quarterback. What about a coach? He was a new coach.
Listen, I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, look, Patrick Mahomes' first year, second year, whatever. They played the way they played for 2 years straight. They got the same result, essentially. They dominated. They were flashy. And then, going into that loss in the Super Bowl, the next season, they started their season off. What's up, John? 3-4, and everyone's like, are they broken? Look, this is where the Packers are right now.
Yep.
LaFleur, coaching and quarterback and team play, it's all one thing. This is where the Chiefs were last year, sitting at 3-4. And look, they still made a playoff run. They made it to the AFC Championship. They're without Tyreek Hill, and they're without Adams. It's not the same season, but it's the same situation. And look, then you put it on the table. You've got veteran head coach Andy Reid, and you've got a still semi-new coach in Matt LaFleur. See, Andy Reid knows how to deal with things like that. He hasn't faced this adversity with the Packers yet, and that just takes time. That takes experience. Like, he has to experience it to improve it.
Yeah, so I've not given up on Green Bay yet this year, but they are in some kind of a transition period, and I think they've got to do something to get Rodgers back in the game because I don't think he's 100% their leader right now. And really quick,
I think his issue is with the coaching decision. See, I think this all ties together.
yeah,
He's a
because of how
petty guy. He is not like he's not the greatest person on the planet. Like we know that, but he is playing okay. He's playing okay football. He's not playing like he did the last couple years. He played like that last couple years because he knew he could do it. He had Adams. Everything was in the books. LaFleur had the easiest job in the world until the playoffs. But now he's like, all right, you can do this or you can't. If you go down, it's easy for me to get out. If I go down, it's on me. So I'm going to listen to you. He's going to play these petty games and let LaFleur learn. And I think part of it is because he's a veteran quarterback with veteran knowledge of the game. He knows what LaFleur's going through, and I think he's allowing this to be a learning curve for him.
And we'll go back to the 2 off seasons ago when he was being a stubborn fool. He wanted more input. Remember those conversations? I need more input in the team. I deserve this because I'm a quarterback. Yeah. He has that ego that he thinks that he knows best. So I think this is just showing the young guy, hey, you're not as smart as you think you are. When you're ready to let's work together, let's come back and talk, and we'll get this back on the road.
Watch mid-season, maybe 2-3 weeks from now, the Packers are going to turn into a completely different football team, and everyone's going to be like, what changed? And I really think this comes down to the relationship with Rodgers and LaFleur right now.
Yeah,
I think he's letting him learn.
I agree completely, but I know we're going to have a few other topics that are going to linger around. So let's go to the next one. If you also Edward Groden here was wanting to know about the Vikings. I didn't know if we could go that way next or not because he asked a question.
I did not see his question. I have the games in order that we picked them. So
okay.
Also Edward Grote, thanks for stopping in. But
yeah, we're
definitely going to get to the Vikings. We haven't made it very far yet so far. But our next one, I don't have a question for this, more as a 2-part statement. 1, the Bills are good at football, and 2, the Steelers are bad at football, but should be optimistic about Kenny Pickett.
I think those are both fair assessments. Buffalo is ready. Look, we're not sure where Buffalo's going to end up, but somewhere along the lines, they're going to be in the AFC Championship this year, one way or the other. I don't think there's any doubt for they're going to go that far. They have all the tools, and they look that much better than most teams. So that's at least
one of the 2 only 4-1 teams in the NFL. They're good. They're a great football team. And despite the injuries on defense, their defense is still remaining dominant.
And here's what you got to think about if you're a Pittsburgh fan. You know what? Trubisky was not getting it done for them, not at all. So Mike Tomlin says, look, I'm just going to give up. Basically, I'm going to scrap my season this year, and I'm going to build my roster for next year. I feel like he's already come to that conclusion. And that's where it's going to be. And I think the Panthers are worse, Crafty. I really do.
Yeah, I do. They've got a worse roster.
But I just think that's where it's at. I think Tomlin has already thrown in the towel for the season. He may not ever say that in a press conference, but I think he's trying to build to find out what he is going to have next year.
This week 1 curveball set them back a lot. Like, I'm not going to say they would have won any more games than they have already, but I think that's thrown a curveball in his plans. But see, this comment right here, the next one, Steelers just show how much Big Pen carried that team. I think TJ Watt carried that team. Personally, that's why they beat the Bengals. TJ Watt was the reason they beat the Bengals in week 1.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like, get the defense playing at its highest point, and that was what carried them last year too. If they didn't have that defense, no way they would have slipped in the playoffs. Look, I know that was on the Jags beating the Colts, knocking the Colts out, which is why the Steelers got there. But that Steelers team was not good. We watched plenty of their primetime games. it was not good. Ben did make some good plays, but he was not the quarterback he once was. And I think that TJ Watt is the sole factor in why they haven't won at least one more football game.
Yeah, and that's just it. One more football game, and they're in the talk for the division. I mean, they're not that far out of it. But I just think that Mike Tomlin knows that he's not going to win 10 games this year, and he's going to try to develop and find out what he has in his rookie quarterback, because he could have took the easy route. He could have went back with Mason Rudolph, and nobody would have batted an eyelash at it. Instead, he threw that rookie in there, and let's see what he can do on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he picked the worst game of their entire schedule to throw a rookie to the Wolves, but he did have a pretty good day. I mean, they didn't score much, but for a rookie quarterback with zero expectations against one of the best defenses he probably will ever face, his first go, he held it in.
Yeah, I'm still confused about NFL referees, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but I'm still mad about when Pickett went in and slid in that game and took a shoulder block.
He took that shot, man. He
took a shot,
but
he was in the slide, and they said that it was no foul, and then they kicked their offensive lineman out of the game for defending him. That really ticked me off. Which
didn't help them at all. Their offensive line's already bad. You don't need your starters going out.
And you cannot blame that guy for going over and knocking that guy back down for what he did.
No way, dude. That shot looked bad, and that could have been a career-ending injury for Kenny Pickett. Like, I'm not even going to say season. That could have been – that was like a nasty, like, Alex Smith-looking kind of hit. Like, that could have been a career-ending injury in his first career start.
If that hit would have went anywhere higher than where it did, shoulder to shoulder where it went,
did you see his legs also?
Yeah.
Did you see his legs as well in that? Because he took to them because he was sliding. He got mangled.
It was ugly. That's definitely should have been a penalty because he's protected in that slide. I do not understand. And then the rest of the calls on roughing the passer this weekend were atrocious. Well, I'm sure we'll get to that on each of the games as we get to them, but horrible officiating this weekend on that point.
But all in all, Buffalo Bills remain dominant. They would get a big win, 38-3, essentially a bye week for them. Let's be honest here. Josh Allen played out of his mind. Gabe Davis, an emerging star since the end of last season, and he's become a huge factor in this offense. Stephon Diggs, still that guy. My only concern still, I'm still stuck on this. My only concern about Buffalo, look, people are like, there's nothing bad to say about them despite their injuries. My only concern is they do not know how to manage a run game. Yeah, Josh Allen can run the ball. They've got backs that can run the ball, but they cannot remain consistent in that. They just revert straight to the pass or let Allen scramble, a very Lamar kind of look right now. And I don't like that. Your defense is great. Run the ball. Give them time to rest. Because once you start facing more tough teams than Pittsburgh right now, it's gonna pile up on these guys that are backups because your starters are hurt on defense. I'm not gonna defend them if they're gonna wear themselves out before the playoffs. Then go ahead and let them. But as a football fan, wanting to see every team grow, that is the one thing. I feel like they need to figure it out. They need to figure the run game out.
Yeah, it's the only chink in their armor right now, to be honest. And Josh Allen makes the numbers look okay, but they haven't figured out a way to sustain running back yards.
Yeah, 100%. What's up, Brandon? He said, how's it going, guys? So far, so good. Just diving in to picking the brain of the NFL this week.
Let's move on.
Next game, my question. Who did it worse? Did the Chargers charger it? They still got the win. Or did the Browns it more? Look, it looks easy on the outside to say obviously the Browns, but the Chargers almost gave that game up.
I don't have an answer. I think there's truth to both answers right there. Both sides of that. The Chargers haven't quite figured out how to be a winner. They can win games, but they haven't figured out how to be a consistent winner. And the Browns still don't quite have everything they have, all the tools, are just not getting there. And Nick Chubb is not their problem. Nick Chubb is the biggest part of their
Nick
solution.
Chubb is a god. Okay, they need to protect that man at all costs. He is their team.
Yeah,
At least offensively, look, I know they got Cooper, they got Hunt, which complements Nick Chubb so well. And they've got guys, but if anything happens to Nick Chubb, their season's over. With Jacoby Brissett, with Deshaun Watson, it doesn't matter who it's with. If Nick Chubb is gone out of that picture, the Browns are gonna slip hard.
agreed.
And I think that's just a fact. And look, the Chargers look good. They looked okay. They didn't look elite, but they looked okay. They got Austin Eckler going finally. He had a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown. He had over 100 yards. Look, that's what the Chargers need desperately, is Austin Eckler doing it. But the Browns came out hot, and they had Jacoby Brissett made one mistake in this game. One mistake, and that was the interception down in the red zone. Other than that, the Browns played a great football game. Look, their rookie kicker missed a field goal, and that's what inevitably lost it. But they wouldn't have been in that place to begin with if it all trickles down from the Brissett interception. I think the game would have been different if he had, my personal opinion, just kept the ball and ran it himself. In that specific play, that situation, just kept the ball and ran it himself. But at the end of the day, the Chargers get a must-have win right now. With the rest of the division slipping and the Chiefs still rising, the Chargers have to keep winning to, find their spot in the playoffs this year.
Agreed.
And the Browns, they're not even out of it yet. Look, I'm not even going to say their season's over, and I think this might be a Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott situation when Watson gets back. They're going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place because Brissett's been playing admirable, and Deshaun Watson's coming in, not playing football in 2.5 years. He looked bad in the training camp this year, and, is he going to be able to knock the rust off? I don't know, but they're going to have to make him because they don't have a choice. And so I feel like this is very giving me Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott vibes right now.
I look forward to seeing what happens, honestly.
I do too. Wouldn't it be so much funny if Brissett just beats him out, just outplays him?
I don't think I think they're going to put him in no matter what.
Yeah, I do too. They don't have a choice. That's what I'm saying. Just like Dak Prescott, he's coming back no matter if Cooper Rush wins every game that he still starts. Dak's going to come back in. We know that. But he's kept them in the playoff race thus far through 5, and so I don't know. Browns D keeps collapsing, which forces their backup QB to play beyond his limits and lead to more mistakes. It's a ripple effect. I mean, it's all a ripple effect, 100%. But, they've had guys injured, and, they're just now getting, Myles Garrett back from the car accident, and Clowney, he didn't play last week either, I don't think, but he played this week. They're getting all these guys back. Have you seen the Russell Wilson meme? LOL, going hard on Russell. It's his first year. He's a system quarterback. Yeah, I mean, look, I like to say, first-year quarterbacks in, a new system is a big deal, but then you turn around and see Tom Brady go to the Super Bowl his first year with the Bucs and win it. So it's really, it just depends on the player. And Brady is definitely a system quarterback. So I think Russ coming back from the thumb injury, and there's a lot of things we obviously don't know, and I'm not sure about Russ yet. We'll see as the season goes on if he gets better. If he gets better, then okay, it was going to a new team with a ding-dong head coach. He went from a Hall of Fame head coach to Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, there you go. I was getting ready to say, it might be 50-50 right now. I might be coaching and quarterback, but we don't even know. Nathaniel Hackett was a QB coach, so he's taking a big jump. So this year might be rough, and I don't think Russell Wilson's quite done. He just looks done, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. He either needs more time or needs to not be with the Broncos, one or the other. But anyway, Crafty says, Watson looked awful in his brief preseason play. That's what I was referring to. He was throwing interceptions. He looked bad. And I know it's just training camp, but it is what it is. It's going to be a fun storyline to follow because Deshaun Watson's going to be all the media is talking about. Now he's on his official – he's allowed to be back in the building, meet with coaches and players again as of this week. So he's back in the building. So that all that talk, we're going to be talking about it more. It's just a matter of time when it gets big enough that it's a real topic of conversation. But on to our next game, the Houston Texans are one game closer to catching up to everybody else in that division. They are one game away from being just as bad as the rest of their division.
I was pretty disappointed with Jacksonville in this game.
I had a feeling this was going to happen, but every time I picked the Houston, they just barely lose. So I rode with Jacksonville this week and got burned.
And I cannot believe you didn't look up the history and we didn't go with the 8 in a row that Houston have won against them.
Listen, I don't look up the history between divisional opponents. I just don't because look, I don't care what it looks like. But I should have, and I've learned my lesson. Look, everybody gets a history lesson every time they play each other from here on out when I make my picks. It's just what it's going to be now. I learned. I got burnt on it. I was going to pick the Texans too. Like deep down in my soul, I wanted to say Houston's going to come in and win this game. And they didn't. But then they I picked Jacksonville, and Jacksonville looked bad. But look, one positive take from Jacksonville is their first-round pick from last year, not Trevor Lawrence. We got some bots in here. But their second first-round pick from last year, Travis Etienne, got some good looks this week. What an awful division. It's the honorary dumpster fire division of the NFL, the AFC South. But look, ETN is looking better. Look, I don't know what this means for James Robinson. I'm a big believer in James Robinson. I have been since his first year with the Jags. But one thing Jacksonville can take positive, they're still on top of the division, and the guy they've been waiting to see break out is finally getting there.
I lost my money on betting the over on the Sunday night game. That's where I lost my money.
I also lost my money this week, but I don't want to talk about that. But look, the Texans, like I said, they're one win away from being just where everybody else is. They are still in it, and they only have one team, or one win. I don't know. I just think, I don't know, it's weird. It's crazy. That division's a dumpster fire. Jacksonville looked bad. ETN looked good. Houston looked enough to win. That's it. They just looked enough to win. Dameon Pierce is solidifying himself as RB1. Nico Collins or whatever his name is, and Brandon Cooks, solid receiving core right there. Texans will be just fine for a team that had zero expectations this year. And Jacksonville, they're still learning. They are still learning. It was a divisional game, so you have to give them that. We'll see if they bounce back next week. Also, the next one, my statement for this one, Bill Belichick completely bullies Dan Campbell, and the Patriots, or I guess I should say the Lions, got zapped.
Yeah, this one was my first bet of the day, in which I got. I was big on the Patriots in this game.
I should have been, but I thought you understand.
Yeah, I got it. And, I love Dan Campbell. I love what he's doing there, but their defense is horrible. And New England plays solid. They have a game plan for everybody they play. And if Jared Goff goes in there, he's not going to have a game against the New England defense. Judon is too much of a stud to let him play as well as he can play. I think
this is a Hall of Fame head coach versus a rookie head coach battle. I think that's what this is with two teams. One has an elite defense, and one of them has an incredibly awful defense. And
Zappe.
They're all, yeah, they just got zapped-ified.
I gotta say, that was cool.
Somebody in the chat said something last night. They had a good Zap reference, and I can't remember what it is to save my life, but I was really excited to talk about that today. But the best I got is the Lions got zapped. And that's all we can say. Look, I think the Lions bounce back next week. I think the Patriots are finally finding their groove. Look, we knew the Patriots were going to have a slow start watching their training camp. Them not knowing what's going on with their offensive coordinator. They don't know who's going to be calling plays. So they're teaching everybody everybody's way, and then they were going to wing it. And I think they're finally figuring it out. They got a good run game. They got solid receivers. They can win with a third string. They can win with anybody. Zappe got a little bit of practice playing against the Packers. No win, of course. The Packers got that win, but that was like a warm up for this game. And he looked comfortable. And I think the Lions will score points this weekend. Oh no, Jared Goff was never hype, man. I just feel like Jared Goff's always been bad. He's always going to be an average quarterback, and even when he was in the Super Bowl with Sean McVay, he was still just an average quarterback. It's their bye week, so they're definitely going to win this weekend because they're going to have time to figure it out. We don't have to worry about blowing a lead if we don't score any points. That's a fact. But this is a perfect time actually for them to have a bye week. Coming off a shutout loss after being the number one scoring team in the league, they really get to sit down, look at everything they did wrong, reflect it, and let some guys get healthy. Because after the bye week, they're going to get back DeAndre Swift. That's why Dan Campbell sat him out early so he could come back after the bye. Look, they're gonna be a better team coming out of their bye. I just know they're not gonna be a playoff team, but they will be a better football team than we saw on Sunday. And the Patriots will be fine. Look, we knew they were gonna be fine, man. Zappe did good by 52-21 Lions. I don't know. You got to give both teams 52 points because their defense is bad. Anybody can score on that.
Just curious. You got I was sitting there going through the description. You got the Steelers versus the Seahawks on here too.
Why are you going through the description right now?
Oh, because I was looking to see which game was next on your list, and it says Steelers and Seahawks. I was kind of confused.
You know why? Because you were standing here talking to me while I was typing in, so I was talking to you about football, typing football things.
I know inevitably it had to be my fault, so.
Of course. I mean, you created me, so everything I do wrong is your fault.
I know.
I'm just playing. Next game on our list. I did. Thank you for calling me out on that, Crafty. I did skip a game. My question of this is, how are the Vikings 4-1? And also, despite them losing, was this the best performance we've seen out of Justin Fields?
I agree with that. The Vikings are 4-1 because the Vikings are a good team. I think you're on the same page as I am. You just don't know if Kirk Cousins is going to be able to win games. You never know if that's going to happen. I know that he's supposed to be able to, but that's just one of those things. I never know if he's going to win or not. Right now, they've got a very good strategy as far as the way they play the game. I know that Kirk Cousins is playing very well right now. He's got the right running backs. He's got the right receiving core, and their defense is playing admirable. So, and the rest of the NFC North does kind of blow in a way. So,
also, quick shout out to Jeff. Oh. Thank you so much for the $15 super chat, I guess. There was no chat on it, so I didn't know what to refer to. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming in here with us. But
yeah, they can go as far as they go. I mean, but the wheels can fall off at any time for Minnesota, and that's all I'm afraid of. That's all I'll say.
Look, I know that the Vikings are a good football team. Look at all the pieces they have, and even Kirk Cousins is not a god-awful quarterback. I think their defense has played admirable, and their offense is full of stars. They've got Dalvin Cook as RB1, elite. They've got Alexander Madison as RB2, and he is a great number 2 back. They've got Justin Jefferson. They've got Adam Thielen. They've got KJ Osborne. They've just got great everything, but they are the team that can lose any game. Like, truly lose any game. And that was their problem last year. They lost all the games they lost were like one-score games, and all the games they've won, other than maybe Green Bay, have been within a very small margin as well. So I agree 100% with you. This comes on the fact that Kirk Cousins could collapse at any point, and that's the one guy they've got to keep in the right mindset all season to keep winning.
I think the main difference between this year's Vikings and last year's Vikings is the new head coach has got the locker room. Mike Zimmer was losing the locker room the whole year because of his very Bill Belichick-esque strict my way or the highway type of attitude as a head coach. And I really feel like the locker room and everybody's on the same page right now. They're playing more team football, and I think that's the reason why they're yielding a slightly better result.
I think a head coach does have a lot, and see, that's another thing. Look, I need Kirk Cousins to keep a good headspace to continue winning, but there are going to be moments of growing pains for a new head coach as well, and so that is something you have to take into consideration. Are the Minnesota Vikings capable of winning this division? At this point, yes, any of those four teams can win this division until Green Bay gets their head right and gets everything sorted out. It's open for grabs. Will the Vikings? That's a 50-50 coin flip right now. But I just think I'd like to see someone other than Green Bay choke in the playoffs. I think it's going to be interesting to see how I'm not even going to say how that entire division plays out by the last game this season. Because look, to be honest, other than the Vikings record, that division's kind of bad right now. They look bad, they're playing bad, and their wins don't even feel that good for all the teams. And so I think there might be a big shift in the middle of the season, and all these four teams are going to get shaken up a little bit in either a good or bad way. And so it's just going to be who's tough enough to hold on and fight through it.
I do like Kevin O'Connell, though. I think he's going to be a really good coach.
All right, my only notes for this next game, and I got 3 notes for this one. Number 1, Zach Wilson, GOAT. Number 2, the Jets are goated. And number 3, who the big F is Skylar Thompson. That's my 3 notes for this game.
That's pretty funny. I'm not goating any of those guys yet. That team or that. I think they got some great rookies on that team. I don't think Zach Wilson.
I started Breece Hall this weekend.
I mean,
I got my head held high. He had like a 79-yard reception in that game.
Okay. I mean, I just think you're still talking young players. You really have got to expect there to be some growing.
This is what I'm rooting for right here. This is what I'm rooting for.
I mean, fair.
Just kidding. The Giants have been to the Super Bowl at least twice in their career, so I'd like to see someone who's never been faced the Jets. I know the Jets, I think, have been there or at least been to the championship, but I would like the Jets, Zach Wilson, and a team that's not there or not in the playoffs often to face them in the Super Bowl. That's what I want.
And I just think that they're gonna show well. They might they're probably gonna make the playoffs this year. The way they're looking, I would give them that kind of thing. I don't think they're ready to make a run yet. I look at them a lot like I did Cincinnati last year. There, but not quite ready to make a run.
Yeah, but look what Cincinnati did last year.
If they keep it together, I just don't think Zach is as good as what you're giving him credit for.
I did put the Jets the very next team to get into the playoffs. So I did not have them there at the beginning of the season. But listen, you can say Zach's not the GOAT. I'm going to call you a liar. He is. But you can say the Jets are not GOATed. And maybe they're not. But either way, they put up 41 points on the Dolphins defense.
Okay.
That's a lot of points for any team to score. For a team that thought Zach Wilson is a bum and gonna crumble. Look, He spent those 4 weeks with a knee injury, just living life, getting healthy, and having a spiritual awakening. Listen, the Jets are coming. The Jets are the real deal. Miami's the real fraud here.
I don't disagree. I agree that the Jets are probably better than the Dolphins.
Like, with Tua healthy and mind right, and I have to include that, I still would have picked the Jets this week. Because look at the secondary for the Jets. Like, they've got a defensive minded head coach that coached a Super Bowl contending defense just the year before. Robert Saleh knows. And he's got these young guys pushing themselves, and they're playing out of their minds. They did give up points, and Skylar Thomas did make his debut. Nobody still knows who that guy is. I couldn't tell you what he looks like. Couldn't tell you what number he wore. But like he still was able to move the ball. They had a strong run game. They got 20 points in this game or something, and so the Jets played Dolphins played admirable for the fact that they are beaten down to the core right now. But yeah, I read you my notes. That's where I'm at.
Skylar Thompson was a Big 12 quarterback. He played at Kansas State. I never really saw him as being an NFL quarterback in college. Kudos to him to making a roster and being able to go out and produce at least some points.
No, I mean, I'm not disrespecting Skylar Thompson at all. Like, not 1%, because he was faced with a tall task. It's just like Justin Herbert, his week 1 start, his rookie year against the Chiefs, like not his week 1, but his first career start. He wasn't ready for that. Skylar Thompson was not ready to play football that day. They had Teddy. They were good. They were happy with Teddy. They didn't anticipate a Skylar Thompson. So it's the same situation. He made the most out of what he could. Did not have the worst debut that you could have. And so that's all you can ask for at the end of the day. Dolphins need to get healthy if they want to be anything, but I feel like their run was week 1 through 3. Like, I really feel that was their run this season.
Yeah, they've got an excuse to be losers the rest of the year.
They've got an excuse, but I was already not sold on them even while they were winning.
Yeah, I agree.
But we can move on to the next one. Last comment. Zach Wilson's the GOAT. I don't care what you say. And okay, so my notes on this one. 3 words. Brady sucks fatties. I did really good today writing notes for this.
Man, you should publish that crap, because I'm sure if we had a blog somewhere and that was the headline for the Tampa Bay game, I'm sure they would have got a lot of response.
I mean, yeah, all the TB12 fans would just come at me, and I don't even care. Look, that's still. Did I skip the Hawks versus Saints?
You know what I hated more about that whole thing is that he didn't get
the flag. Crafty, thank you, but we'll come back to that next.
What I hated about that whole thing was the fact that he did not get that flag until he cried for it.
Listen, you can look. I put it on the thumbnail today. We all knew that you guys wanted me to talk about it. Look, you've waited 3 days for me to talk about this, and I wasn't even ready to I hadn't looked into it until right before the Chiefs game last night. And then that was when I was officially mad about it, which is why I was a little heated about Chris Jones. But I have had my time. I have formed my opinions, and I pictured it without it being Tom Brady to see how mad I'd still be if it wasn't. I would still be just as mad if it was any other QB that got hit like that. That was not roughing the passer. None of his body weight landed on Brady. He extended his arms to catch his own fall so he couldn't hit Brady once he hit the ground. All he did was tackle him like QBs get tackled in every single game.
I heard an interview today on NFL radio. It was with Carl Lawson. He plays for the Jets, used to play for the Bengals. And he said the sentiment in the locker rooms right now is that hey, they're going to make these calls because these referees aren't smart enough to differentiate. They're just being told to protect the quarterback. NFL gives them an order, they're going to go out and they're going to follow it. So anything that is remotely suspect, they're going to throw. If err on the side of caution, throw a flag. Now, what Carl Lawson said is look, I don't care. He says, I'm going to go out here. He says, I can't play tentative. If I go out and play tentative, I might hurt myself. I'm going to go out and hit the quarterback first, and I'm going to ask questions later. If I get penalized, then I get penalized. He says, but we're not allowed to. We shouldn't change our game based on the way that they're trying to make us change our play. If we change our play, we risk hurting ourselves, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him 100%. Look, the Chris Jones one, that's a whole different discussion, and we're gonna get to it. Like, I will talk about it, but I don't want to talk about that one right now. I've seen, we talked about Kenny Pickett getting hit. We've talked about Tua getting hit 2 different times in 2 weeks. I saw a lot of hits, a lot of quarterbacks that they took this week that the refs didn't even bat an eye at, right? Look, I get that the refs are erring on a side of caution because of Tua and because of the NFL's new policy. There was nothing, absolutely nothing he could have done to Brady to hurt him in that play, that other than the fact that he's 60 years old and could have broke his hips because his bones are fragile. And that is not the defender's fault, okay? It's not his fault he decided he wanted to be 50 years old and play in the NFL, okay? That's no one's fault but his own. So if he gets hurt because his bones are fragile, that's on him. But I watched this sack over and over and over again because that's all they talked about today, right? The roughing the passer was the sports talk highlights. He didn't do anything wrong. And I watched the Atlanta Falcons coach interview after the game, and I could feel that he was just so heartbroken because he knew he couldn't say anything. There was nothing he could do. And he's like, I don't know what you want me to say. And then they interview Brady, and Brady literally laughs and says, I don't know, I don't throw the flags. And I was like, man, I just want to kick your teeth in sometimes. But that's besides the point. That is completely besides the point. I always want to kick his teeth in.
Yeah,
we watch QBs get hit every single day. Every football game we do, the same tackle every single day. Brady was not in danger. And the only reason it looked as bad as it did, and I'm going to be completely honest, the only reason this tackle even looked kind of bad is because right before he tackled him, Brady took off running. So he was in a sprint when he hugged him down. He didn't grab him around the horse collar. He didn't grab him too low. He grabbed him right on his stomach where his center. So he pulled him down as safely as he could possibly pull him down.
Yeah, I think
from a guy running full speed, full head of steam, who couldn't slow down if he wanted to, he pulled him down. There was no safer way for him to put him on the ground. Because look, if he hadn't went all the way through that play, all the way to the ground like he did, Brady could have got out of it and kept running.
You know what's bad is here's the bad thing about this whole deal, and all the way through, and NFL as a whole. And this opinion is probably going to be met with some criticism, but it's just what it is. These guys are paid millions upon millions of dollars more than they're actually worth as human beings to go out and play a game. There is said risk involved in playing with this game. You know what can happen in this game. You cannot protect people from this game. Buy your insurance. You spend your money wisely. Save the money that you make because you know your career is going to be short, and go out there and play it, but enter at your own risk, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of guys that are going to die from too many concussions, and we know it's going to happen later on. But that's the price you pay for being a celebrity, making millions of dollars. Just play the game. And it's not that we don't disvalue your life. You're just making more money than you would make doing anything else, and you're going to make it all in 5-7 years. If you get out with your health, so be it. You're lucky. Other than that, I wish everybody would just quit complaining and play football.
Also, quick shout out to Nathan. This is quite the accomplishment. He ran 2 marathon type runs today, finished in first place. Look, Nathan's the GOAT too. I couldn't do it. I don't even think I could run 1 mile in 19 minutes at this point. Just kidding. I could probably run it in maybe like 12.
It's not.
I
You
used
didn't.
to I used to be able to run. I ran a just under 6 minute mile once in my lifetime. Back in my prime. But that Clinton says the roll looks like his legs were whipped. It's because he was running. And so when he went down, his legs went up with him. That was not the defender. That was Brady. Because as soon as he rolled Brady started kicking him to get off of him. I was like, and then he instantly stood up and threw his hands up like I didn't touch him, and then ran to the referee before anything happened. Like that's just what happened. We can't change it. We get mad. It changed the game. That's a big rule that at this point, the big debate is should roughing the passer penalties be reviewed? And I think yes. I think if it comes down to it, especially a game-changing situation like that, they should send it to New York. It should be out of the referee's hand.
So that means they're going to throw the flag on every quarterback hit, which I don't know that I agree with.
No, I'm not saying throw every time the quarterback or the referee throws the flag. They're asking if at that point when the flag is thrown, should it be allowed to be reviewed? And I think yes, because it's not thrown on every play. I watched Mahomes get thrown, and I wasn't even, not in 1 second in my mind did I think that was roughing the passer. But every time the flag does get thrown, do you think it should be allowed to be reviewed?
If it's done efficiently, yes. I think they're already watching on every play as is. We're still talking that they're going to have that extra official in the sky. It's going to happen eventually anyway. I think this is just another reason to implement it sooner. I mean, if you're going to put that responsibility on somebody that's not on the field, I guess. I just don't.
I am 50-50 about it. But if it's such a controversial call and everybody is up in arms immediately from the effect of it, I feel like it should at least be considered.
I mean, yeah.
And outside of the call, since we've got that all out of the way, we can talk about the actual football game. Look, the Ravens did not play a first half very well. They slowed down the Bucs enough that they weren't getting completely blown out. The Bucs completely blew a lead that they had, and that was when the Falcons were coming back. Like the fourth quarter, which is when this play happened, was when the Falcons had momentum. They were moving the ball finally. They were scoring points finally, and they were finally looking like an actual competitive football team.
Right.
Yes, you can put this on the fact that they did not perform in the first half. You can say that because that's fair. But look, a lot of teams get in these situations and make the most out of it. They fight and they come back. I think there's a lot of examples you can even just throw out and be like, okay, yeah, I get that. But I just don't think that people should take the fact that they didn't perform well in the first half and they rallied in the second half in consideration and use that as an excuse when this game-changing call comes out. This team has been like this, They're not a great football team, but they are a tough football team that has not given up on a single game this year. Look, they could have just given up and called it an L at halftime. And yet they made it a one-score game. And, then this is when it happens. And they never got the ball back after that call. The first time the Bucs were able to run the ball all game was after the penalty, and they were able to run the clock the rest of the way down. So, talking outside of the call, first half, rough for the Falcons. Second half, look, they still look promising to me. And the Buccaneers had not much of a run game. Brady still threw the ball over 50 times. Look, can you believe we're saying that Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, just thinking about that team, had to throw the ball 50 times against the Falcons? When you got Leonard Fournette on your squad, they got Rashad White or whatever his name, who's not a bad back as well. I know Giovanni Bernard's on the IR. and that hurts. But like Leonard Fournette, I told you they're going to live and die by him, and they did not. They weren't able to. So this makes me feel like Tampa Bay is closer to being on Atlanta's level than Atlanta is to being on where people consider Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing is that you're back to how successful is a team going to be if you can't run the ball in Tampa. If you're making Brady throw 45, 50 times a game, you're not going to win that division.
And look, they kept it a one-score game without Kyle Pitts or Cordell Patterson. That just honorary. It's a golf clap for the Falcons, man. That is not an easy team to play. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad. It's not an easy team to play, and they pushed through it and made it a close game. Good on them for that, man. Look, Tampa Bay's got issues, and all these teams are slowly showing those issues. Win or loss, this was not a good game for Tampa Bay. Whether they had won it, whether the refs had won it, whether they had won it, or whether the Falcons had won it, this did not look good for Tampa Bay.
No, you're right. Absolutely. And I think the other thing that I'm going to have to do is I think I'm going to have to put in a third camera because we've got another co-host that wants to be in here all the time.
He actually is camera shy. He just likes to be close to you.
The second I start talking, he'll leave me alone for hours on end. The second we start talking in here, he's in my lap.
He doesn't like your attention being anywhere else. That's all it is. That's how he is with everybody. He doesn't like cell phones either.
No, I know that. He almost knocks it out of my hand every time I pick it up.
But let's backtrack a little bit because I did skip a game. Thank you, Crafty, for calling me out on that again. It's because my notes make me laugh that I'm skipping around. All right, so my notes for this game, Seattle versus New Orleans. Geno Smith, MVP. Second, the Saints are bouncing back.
I love that Andy Dalton's playing well. Taysom Hill is the X factor, and if they have stable quarterback play, they can win the division fairly easily. I know Jameis is supposed to be back this coming week, I believe. We'll see how that progresses. I don't think he will have as much leash now that Dalton's got to play and put up some competitive games. But I really like what I see with him with him leading the team. So, and with that being said, I'm really impressed with Geno because Geno just keeps putting up numbers, and for a guy that I didn't think could, I'm impressed with that.
I thought 5 weeks he has like 106.8 passer rating. Geno Smith MVP. Like Seattle's loving it right now. Like honestly.
There's a head coach that is utilizing the talents of his quarterback in the right way. Pete Carroll knows how to use a quarterback. Pete Carroll might be the reason Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson.
That's why I was Geno don't write back. But that's why I was kind of thinking about it with all the controversy between Justin Fields and the Bears that I kind of feel like he might be a Seahawk in a couple years. Or maybe not even a couple years.
He does fit that program.
I'm saying, like, we know what Justin Fields can be capable of. Chicago's not right for him. But I feel like I missed something. Tim said Taysom Hill. And this is what I'm thinking. Look, Taysom Hill is clocking in every day as a tight end. At the end of the day, he is not clocking in as QB1. And right now, he's not clocking in as QB2 right now because Andy Dalton's starting football games. But with Jameis coming back, so Andy or Jameis, it doesn't matter which one. If they can utilize the dual quarterback system with Taysom, he can perform like he has been, especially this week with 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing and a passing, or whichever it was. The Saints, they're going to be okay. They've got a good defense. Look, they put up a lot of points, but, like, it's hard guarding DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They lost their number 1 running back, but they do have their running back rookie, Kenneth Walker, who is a stud. Look, Seattle's going to be okay. They're in a bad division, so they actually have a shot this year. And the Saints, this division is still wide open because Atlanta was almost number 1. That's how open this is right now. And so Tampa Bay is struggling. Atlanta is struggling to win, but still being tough, the Saints are bouncing back. This division's wide open, and I think the Saints are going to be all right, man. That was a fun game, Saints versus Seahawks. It really was. Yeah, Taysom Hill had a career day. Why replace Dalton when he finally has things for? I don't think they should, but they're sold on Jameis as their guy. Look, Jameis was their guy with Sean Payton. I firmly believe that. Dennis Allen has still got a little bit learning to do as a head coach. So he's going to try things out and, inevitably, obviously make that decision. But I think with Taysom Hill playing backup like Taysom Hill should be, it doesn't matter which guy they have starting. They could have all three of the guys play in the same game. It doesn't matter. But it was a good game. Good on both these teams. Seattle, they almost came back and won that game. Very, very high-scoring affair. Chris Olave did get hurt, but, that's been a trend of the offense in the AFC South or NFC South this year. So all the offensive pieces have gotten hurt for all of them. So hopefully he's healthy and gets back and everybody gets their pieces back. So this division might be a little bit more interesting. Now that I am back on track, the next game we've got, my only comment on this is the Titans and Commanders are both mid. Like, that's all I got, man. This was a game that was very, very evenly matched, in my opinion. I used my coin flip on this because I just couldn't make a decision. Washington had an opportunity to win this game. And a lot of people are like, why didn't they try to go to the run game, blah, blah, blah. But they were at the end of the game, no time. They had to make a play. And Wentz is not your guy that you want to put in a 2-minute offense where you have one play to win the game. That's just not the guy. And, then Ron Rivera comes out and says, the reason why our team is the only team in this division that's bad is due to quarterback play. He just says that. He come out and said it right out. And, Carson Wentz is obviously a cancerous in the locker room. We already know this. But this is just going to make things worse that he said that in an interview and everyone heard him say it.
Do you think he said that because it wasn't his choice of quarterback?
I mean, that's possible. I don't know why it would have been his
Ron
choice.
Rivera is very outspoken. He very much likes to be in control of his team. But to him to say that tells me that he didn't like that choice for his team and somebody else made it.
I mean, when they're watching backup QB Cooper Rush continue to win games, it's very hard to look at your QB and think, why aren't you doing anything? And then looking at the Giants, who were god-awful the last 2 years, and they've got Daniel Jones at QB. Look, I'm not knocking on Daniel Jones, but the world is. And looking at that and be like, oh my God, okay, how is he winning? And then you've got Jalen Hurts, which is the best quarterback in that division currently.
You just brought me to a great question, and this is one that you're going to ponder over. If the season were to end today, does Daniel Jones get a new contract with New York?
Yeah. Look, Dable his issue was not that he was not talented. It's that he had ding-dongs coaching him, and he had more than one coach in his rookie campaign, like his rookie, and I refer to that as years 1, 2, and 3. He had different play callers, different idiots feeding him garbage, and now he's finally got a solid guy that's teaching him. Dable's not going to give up on him after watching him play this season. As long as he doesn't completely collapse, 100%.
I know, because that was some of the big talk in preseason, is that if he did not, or if he only performed, adequate but not, great, were they going to move on from him next year? Because there is going to be the chance of a lot of free agents that are going to have money again, I think, is after this year. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But, it's just a question, because a lot of people did not want him to stay in that system. A lot of people wanted them to move on from him.
Yeah, but he got a second chance with Brian Dable. Truly. They could have went out and tried to get someone else already, but they didn't. Brian Dable is smarter than Joe Judge, or whatever his name is. Mike Judge, Joe Judge. I don't know. They're all.
He's probably smarter than Mike Judge too. I will just say.
In terms of football, yes, 100%. Either way, I love Mike Judge, but look, what Crafty said, those 2 years stagnated his growth, but he still showed flashes of greatness despite having probably the worst guy to coach a rookie, man. I think that's why Dable was like, all right, we're going to take this year and we're going to see what we can do with it and see if he can be that guy, because I know Dable knew going into this he's smarter than any of the guys calling plays for the last 3 years. Mike Judge makes a good comedy. Dude, I love Mike Judge. And look how much Daniel Jones has grown this year already through 5. They did lose a game, but he's grown so much. And I think as long as, like I said, he does not have a complete and total collapse or a season-ending injury, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's their guy because he knows their system and he's adapting well to their new head coach. He's learning and growing every single day right in front of our eyes. It's like watching a new rookie campaign for him.
Do you think he will get a top-tier contract?
I think he is one of those guys that would take a more team-friendly deal. I think they're going to offer him a lot of money, but I don't think it's going to be like a Russell Wilson deal. Like, if that's what you mean.
No, but I'm going to say $35 to $40 million a year. Is he going to be in that range?
I bet it'll be 25.
See, 25 is not – that 25 is definitely middle of the road. So
I think he'll get 25 for like 5 years or so.
I think, that sounds about reasonable. I mean, that's affordable for the Giants, especially if they can put pieces around him.
Oh, yeah, as soon as they get rid of Galladay also. They're going to be saving so much money. They're going to be able to pay him. And I think 25 mil is an appropriate amount, especially if he takes this team to the playoffs despite how good their division is.
Love King of the Hill.
King of the Hill was his baby. I love Beavis and Butthead. That was Mike Judge, right?
Yep. Yes.
But yeah, I think Daniel Jones is good. Look, we had Giants fans. I'm not going to call anybody out, but we've had Giants fans in this chat right here the last 2 years just telling us Jones is trash. Even just 2 weeks ago that they need to get rid of him. He's the problem over and over and over again. And I never thought he was the problem. Not one time. As a football fan, I never thought Daniel Jones was their problem.
Easy to blame the quarterback, though.
That's what everyone does. It's a team sport. Look, I'm a firm believer in that because I fight the Tom Brady argument every single day of my life. And I'm not exaggerating. Every single day of my life, I fight that. This is a team sport. It's not his fault. Unless he throws 17 interceptions in one game and is still somehow in the game and the coach hasn't benched him yet, it's not always his fault. Look, is his offensive line letting him down? Look at Dallas, the Dallas game this year. The offensive line let Daniel Jones down bad. And, are there big injuries, which there are with this team? Is your head coach competent? There's so many factors. I do not think that Daniel Jones has ever truly been the Giants' problem since he's been there. The only problem I have with him is that he started his career too soon. They should have never benched Eli and let him sit that whole season. And then, okay, let Eli go retire or do what he's going to do. But right there. Is that a Priest Holmes jersey in the thumbnail? Sweet. It is. I wore that last night during the Chiefs game, and I love it so much. But thanks for joining us, Rob. On to our next game. I'm not going to skip any more. Wait, let me read my notes. Okay, I only got 2 things. 1, the Panthers are free. And 2, the Niners are good. That's all I give myself a lot to work with.
Man, I tell you what, you're really good with words.
I try my best.
That's there's 2 great analogies in very small, vocal terms. Like,
I'm a simple person, okay?
San Francisco is good. San Francisco is better with the Garoppolo than they were with Trey Lance. We knew that. And yes, now there is no pressure. If you're a Carolina Panther, you can go out there and play football, have fun, and work towards next year. Steve Wilkes will guide them. I don't know if he'll get an opportunity as a head coach, but he will get them to next year. And I think
that's Kellen Moore's next job right there.
Yeah, you can effectively say one of those Dallas coordinators may be gone.
I mean, Kellen Moore's getting a job, man. Look, he's got that offense rolling and winning games, even though I know it's their defense, but still. We're free. We may be in last, but we're free. Look, the Carolina Panthers are free. They still owe him $40 million, but he is gone, okay? Like, he is gone. This felt very Freddie Kitchens-esque in Cleveland. That's what this felt like, this relationship.
You know what? Matt Rule is the big winner in this for signing that contract, though. Got to say that guy walks away he's got to feel pretty good about his financial situation.
Yeah, so Carolina, they're free. They got rid of their ding-dong head coach. Baker Mayfield is hurt, but Baker Mayfield wasn't playing well, and people are going to say that Baker's trash, but look who was his head coach, and that affects things because he wasn't playing bad when healthy under Stefanski. That's just a fact. Oh, if the Chargers fire Brandon Staley, Kellen Moore's definitely going to choose the Chargers over anything. What's up, Shy? But listen, the Niners are good. The Niners are a good football team. Their defense is good. They suffered a couple injuries, but I think they're as a whole, this is their division to lose right now. I'm calling it now. And as long as their defense stays healthy enough and enough pieces to keep them alive, and Jimmy G doesn't make mistakes and they continue to run the football effectively, this division's theirs to take.
Yeah, it's theirs. I don't see anybody challenging them. I really don't.
Maybe Seattle at this point.
I kind of doubt it, but we'll go with that.
Look, Geno Smith's working his way up. He's getting comfortable now. Like, I'm just saying. He's got no pressure of Russell Wilson coming back on his back like he did last year.
Oh. You know? Go Cubs.
God hates the Cubs. Mic drop. But, yeah, look, the Niners are just good. There's nothing else to say. As long as Jimmy doesn't make mistakes, which he's known for a couple every now and then, a couple letdowns here and there. But as a whole, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over too much, the defense plays well. They keep going with it. As long as they do not lose faith in their run game, which Kyle Shanahan is smart enough to not stop running the football at any point in the game.
Have you ever noticed that Kyle Shanahan always plugs a running back into a system that works? Jeff Wilson Jr. is playing great.
Jeff Wilson Jr., I mean, their problem is they draft like 3 running backs every year because they just go through a carousel of them continuously. What year was Geno Smith drafted? He's 32 years old.
Odd.
Let's see. 2022 passing. His first year in the league was 2013 with the Jets.
Yep, 2013.
So I'm assuming that was the year he got drafted. Because I think anytime a Jets draft a quarterback, they immediately start. So I'm assuming that's the year. That was his rookie year.
Draft results, 2013, second round, pick number 7. And he comes out of West Virginia. He follows the Michael Vick line of playing, I believe.
And he's coming to win the MVP award this year. He's coming in hot. He's challenging Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. Those are my top 3 right now. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar. So Geno Smith is challenging those guys.
You know, I just flipped on when I flipped over to look at his.
I want to just make one comment real quick. Nathan, any Cubs fan after 2015 is a bandwagon fan. Any of them. That's how it is. If you were a Cubs fan before that, I know you're a real fan. By the Jets, yeah. His first season he played in the NFL was 2013 for the Jets.
what's funny is that I flipped over to look at his draft, on the NFL website, and I scrolled down, and the first thing I see is Seahawks quarterbacks for 2023. Baker Mayfield is right there.
I mean, we all thought Baker Mayfield was going to be a Seahawk this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling that out. I'm also not ruling out Jared Goff to be the Seattle quarterback next year as well.
Okay, let's move.
On to the next. Man, I this one is the most vague one out of all of them. I could have done better. All I put are the Eagles are still undefeated. I could have put anything there. Like the Cardinals are dumb for picking up Matt Amendola after watching him lose a game for the Chiefs. Like I could have not lose a game but miss kicks that were crucial to winning.
So to comment on your comment for your notes,
I mean that is a good topic.
They have not had a letdown.
The Eagles they were close. They were close. Just the Cardinals are ding dongs.
I mean, but they haven't had a letdown. A letdown means that you come out and you don't show up and you get your butt beat. They haven't. That hasn't happened to them yet. They have had the opportunity to lose, but they haven't let down.
First real test this weekend on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. Honestly, look, Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott, I don't care. That defense is legit, and this is going to be the truest test for the Eagles offense, in my opinion, so far this season.
Fair.
Even though they had moments of struggling, like against Jacksonville, got down 14-0, Hurts threw an interception, blah, blah, blah. They've had moments of minutes. I'm not even saying moments, just minutes of letdown and bounce back from it. But this will be 4 quarters of a full test for this Eagles offense. Baltimore winning this year. Maybe. Baltimore's got to learn how to continuously close out games. But we're almost to Baltimore, so. But yeah, look, the Cardinals, they goofed by picking up Amendola of all kickers. I know there's got to be more than 2 free agent kickers out there. They kept themselves in this game. They did. It wasn't a great game for them, but they kept themselves alive. They had a chance to go to overtime. Field goal was missed, and that was how the Eagles won. I think if this game went to overtime, I still was going to say the Eagles should have pulled it out. But good to know the Eagles survived a 5th grader. Good on them. They're due for a letdown. Look, no team goes undefeated. It's never happened that they go there the entire season without losing 1 game, whether that be in the Super Bowl, whether that be in the playoffs, or whether that be in the regular season. It's never happened. I do not believe that they are going to go completely undefeated this year. Now, is 15 games reasonable at this point? At this point, yes. It's reasonable to think that they could win 15 games. But they are due for at least 1 letdown game. True on Cowboys Pressure Sunday. Yeah, this is their first real test, and I cannot wait for it. The Eagles' defense is great. That's why I'm not too worried about the defense. But I want to see Jalen Hurts and this offense see how well they fare against an actual number 1, number 2, number 3 area type defense in their division especially. Did they ever use a safety for a kicker? I mean, the Chiefs did, but not in that game. No, they only let him kick once or twice this year. I think he's 1-1 on his kicks this season. I wish they would just do it anyway, but whatever. I got the Birds winning. I hope so, man. I hope that they prove that they are. But, if Cooper Rush wins, I love that storyline, man. If Dak Prescott comes back, I can put all my money in on the Eagles, seriously. I've got that much faith in Kellen Moore coaching Cooper Rush to winning over coaching Dak to win, coming freshly off an injury that he might not even be 100% ready for. All right, my next notes. This one's easy enough for me. We were talking about the Cowboys. My notes on this one just say Rams suck, LOL. I'm so funny. I don't need anybody to make me laugh. I make myself laugh. Ash wants screen time. He wants screen time, but he doesn't want to look at the screen because he doesn't like to look at cats. But I mean, we summed it up. The Rams D's legit. They sacked Matt Stafford 6 times. I think they had a defensive touchdown in this game. Yeah, I mean, you watched it. I only watched the fourth quarter.
The Rams sacked Matt Stafford, is what you said.
Okay, well, you know what I meant.
They played Dallas, right? Yeah.
Dallas sacked Matt Stafford 6 times.
Yeah, and even hurt, Micah Parsons was still getting to the quarterback. So I think I'm just going to go back to what we said early on. The Rams' issue is in the offensive line. Whitworth retiring was a big, huge loss for them. Andrew Whitworth was the quarterback of that line.
Lindsay?
He kept them in check, and therefore Stafford had enough time. That line is going through a transition. If they don't fix it, they don't win 8 games.
Yeah, I mean, I summed it up myself. I already knew what I meant as a whole. The Cowboys defense, legit. Cooper Rush only completed 10 passes in this game. They got their run game going. Tony Pollard is a stud. I will scream it to the hills every day. I hate the Dallas Cowboys, but Tony Pollard is a stud. Zeke did not play all that bad.
They both played well.
He did enough. Both of them did enough. They only completed 10 passes. Like, you can win a game like that, boom. And Rob says Cooper is 5-0 as a starter, can't pull until he loses. No, when Dak is ready, Dak is going in, whether anyone wants it or not. That's just how money works. But anyway, I'm going to jump back to this just real quick because Rick's in here and joined us. Also, welcome, Rick. But he said, got here late, so you might have touched on this. Do you think Dan Campbell is over his head or trying too hard to make up for the lack of roster talent?
I think Dan Campbell is right where Dan Campbell knows. I think he knows his team very well. I think he knows that there is not a lot of overall talent on that defense. I think he knows that Jared Goff is mediocre to average at best. And he probably knew going into New England that he probably didn't have much of a chance. But he still motivates those guys to play and they don't quit. And I think that as these guys develop a little bit, I think he's the right guy for the job.
So I watched before I got in here when I got off work today, a actual Detroit Lions long-term fan come in on YouTube and talk about the Lions situation. And I've never heard a Lions or any fan of any football team be so real about their team. And basically what he said was they're not going to be good, like, playoff worthy for a while. They've got a big Jared Goff contract, and they are 100% aware that Jared Goff is not their guy. Like, they know that. They're just trying to, move through the motions, get through it for a while till they can go and hopefully maybe draft a quarterback or, get a guy. But they're not going to win anything until they get their guy at quarterback and they, actually spend some money, essentially buy their team in free agency and things like that. He was basically saying, like, I love my team. They're not good right now. They're not going to be good this year. But and they know that and they're okay with that because they have Jared Goff and they're not ready to win with Jared Goff because he can't be their guy. That they're just waiting on to find their guy.
I think that's fair.
And they're going to play tough because of their head coach and, this team, this mindset, this city. They haven't given up on them even after everything over the years. Like, they're going to continue to be a tough team. They're just not going to be a good team yet. And I respected the heck out of a fan of their own team coming out and saying that. So I appreciate it. But back to our picks. I'm going to move on because we summed it up with the Rams still suck. They have offensive line issues. They need one more receiver other than Cooper Kupp. Dallas's defense is legit, and their offense is doing enough to win. And they're, we touched on the Cowboys more beforehand, but it plays right into that. The Rams got issues they need to work on.
For sure.
On to Sunday Night Football. My 2 notes for this one: the Rams didn't choke, and Zach Taylor is an idiot. And this is your cup of tea, so I'll let you kick it off.
I I'm still. I felt like they played fairly well. I feel like going into Baltimore, when Baltimore had a big chip on its shoulder after you beat the snot out of them twice last year, a team that was ready to play you full force, had your offensive game figured out. I think to walk out of there with a 1 point loss or whatever, and with the opportunity to win, if they had went for it on four, if they had kicked the field goal on fourth down to keep that game tied, that would have made that touchdown they scored make Baltimore score a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal. So I think they played well enough to win. I think Zach Taylor's is where they're struggling right now. He's cost them, in my mind, 2 games this year for sure. I think they're still improving. The play, yeah. See, I'm sitting here screaming for that, and who am I? I'm just a guy that watches a lot of football. But kick the field goal, keep the game tight, play the scoreboard. You have a good enough offense to go down the field. The 2-minute drill is excellent in Cincinnati. I don't know why they don't go no huddle, but they played well enough to win. They didn't. Let's just keep on going because they're going to have to put up numbers to beat New Orleans.
Like, this is a big step for Baltimore. It was not a pretty win for them, but like coming from a football fan with no feelings tied to it, this win was a must win. Like, this specific situation was a must win because their last 2 losses came on them putting up points and then blowing a lead and losing. They needed to learn that they can close out games. They have a great roster. This was good on them for that. I think the coaching issues is what held Cincinnati back. But I think, if, it's like a domino effect. If Cincinnati had played and done the things they were supposed to do, that means Baltimore would have changed how they played. And we don't know. The outcome might have been different. It might have been the same. We don't know. But, it was poor decision making, not taking the points. Like you said, you preach on the road, always take the points, no matter who you are. So I'm not happy about that. And he said, Brandon said, this is an interesting stat I did not realize, but he said, how about our defense not allowing a single touchdown in the second half this season? Look, these corners, these secondary for Cincinnati, they're elite. We've discussed this many a times in here. And Von Bell is playing out of his mind this season, like him specifically.
Our defense is completely legit. Hendrickson and Hubbard are always a threat. DJ Reader stops the run. Our linebacking crew is pretty dang good. Our defense is completely legit. Our offense is what's let us down this year. And offense comes back to what somebody said earlier, play calling and making poor decisions. And that's where Zach Taylor has got to up his game or sit back a little bit and let somebody else split some of the responsibility so that he can be a head coach. But they've had the opportunity. They could very easily right now be 4-1.
Now that you said what you just said specifically, I did hear today there was a Zach Taylor interview today about the idea of giving the play calling to somebody else. And Zach Taylor gave a Zach Taylor stupid ass response because that's what he does. Like, sorry my language, but that dude is I don't like that guy and he's got a punchable face. But he was basically like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who calls plays, it's going to be the same result. And I was like, I just want to kick you in the face for even opening your mouth. You should have said, I plead the fifth, I'm not going to answer it, because that would have been a better answer than that. Like, I don't like him. I don't like his interviews, all of them. Like, there's specific coaches I cannot stand to listen to interviews. He is one of them. But him saying that, I guess it is a possibility that in the near future, someone else will be calling plays for them. So, yeah, 50-50 right there. We don't know. But my question to you as a lifelong Bengals fan, with them coming off a Super Bowl loss, an incredible run coming from a 2-15 team. Like, they weren't supposed to be in the Super Bowl, but they did that. They got there despite how bad the offensive line played, blah, blah, blah. At what point if the Bengals continue to decline, like, look, I know they're on the rise, but if they decline significantly by the end of the season, at what point, or do you think Zach Taylor gets put on the hot seat?
Next season would be the hot seat season. I think they're going to ride this out.
I don't think they will. I don't think he could get fired this year unless they don't win another game.
Fair. Look at it like this. Mike Brown does not like to recirculate coaches. Mike Brown likes to keep the guys in play. Mike Brown wanted to keep Marvin Lewis for a long time. It was a mutual agreement because they got tired of hearing the media, but he would have rode with Marvin Lewis till the end of time. Marvin Lewis was a great coach. I really feel like he was a great coach because a lot of years he didn't have talent. But now they've given Zach Taylor talent, right? They've given him draft picks, and he's gotten all the guys that he wants on this team. And he's done. And Lou Anarumo, who I had questions about, has got this defense playing very well. And he will probably be a head coaching candidate before too much longer because of how well this defense actually plays. Brandon said it right on the head. No second half touchdowns makes you have the opportunity to win a lot of games. Marvin Lewis, I love, dude, just straight up. He deserves another shot in the NFL. He had some mediocrity to deal with in Cincinnati and always put up numbers. They may not have got the job done, but they did it with underachieving and drafting, taking unwanted players and making them good players. Good call. Next year, if they finish less than 500 this season, he gets one more season because I think Mike Brown's granddaughter, who's kind of overseeing the team,
she's 100% in control right now, and that's why I feel like things are. That was the point I was going to make, but I didn't want to cut you off. Is that she is like the more progressive version of Mike Brown. She is like getting out of his ways but staying true to him in as much as she can, but while moving forward with the rest of the league. And that's what a lot of people say bad about Marvin Lewis is even like Aaron Rodgers now. They said he's an old style QB that's not progressing with the league. So that's why I ask, and that's why I feel like this is an important question. If they tank this year, and I'm not saying tank like finish 500, what if they finish below 500? Look, they can't finish worse than Pittsburgh in my mind, but if they finish below 500, you don't think he'll be on the hot seat?
I think it'll be brought up, but he'll have one more season. And then the next year will be a make and break season. If he doesn't bring them back, because then you're into contract season with Burrow. Joe Burrow may want to leave. We don't know what his relationship is. We don't know any of the inner workings right now. I just know that nobody on this team likes losing.
All right. Intermission time. Papa Blood's taking a break. We've got one more game we're going to hit tonight, and then we're going to jump into briefly, because I don't know how much time we do have. He's leaving for vacation in like 6 or 7 hours. We're going to talk about our Thursday night football barn burner we got coming up. But yeah, I like this Bengals squad. Look, I got a little bit of bad blood with them. That's just personal because of the Chiefs, but I still like this Bengals squad. I think they're a good team. Also, to Bark Siegel, he said, I got a punchable face. For all I know, you look like a seagull, so I cannot confirm or deny. It's Collins. I don't like him either, man. He talked the talk all off season and everything, and he's just not walked the walk, I guess. And, I have the same issue with one of our guys in Kansas City who made a big deal. He held out in training camp. He ended up coming back, signing a franchise tag. I don't even want him next year. Like, I hope they don't give him a big deal. He's not performed. And I feel the exact same way about Collins. And he's back. Welcome back, everybody, from intermission break. Me just rambling about nothing.
Yeah, I love the incident that they're talking about. Lyle Collins missed the assignment, and then as he was trying to walk away, Zach Taylor was giving him an earful. I think Zach Taylor understands the game very well, and I think that he's just got a lot to learn to be a good head coach. I don't know if he's gonna.
I think he's one of those young head coaches that are like us, like that probably would be better at talking about football than like actually coaching a team. Not that he can't get there but he's got a lot of this season left to prove that he doesn't make more bad calls to get him there.
For Bengals fans that are in here today, the best part about what's going on there is that he still has that locker room, and that's very important. The locker room.
And I think it's the age group. The average age group is much younger than the team when he arrived in Cincinnati, and he's making this team how he wants it. Guys that he can grow with, not just him growing, but young QB, young star wide receivers, younger defense. Bringing all these guys in that are on his level, still newer to the game and moving their way up. He's new to head coaching, moving his way up. I think that's all it is, man.
Thursday is mediocrity. It's Bears it's the Redskins, or it's the Commanders at the Bears.
On to our final game of the night that we are reacting and recapping and all of that fun stuff. No, sorry, Nathan, but my notes for this is the Chiefs own the West. But look, I was making myself laugh writing all of these down. But listen, this was not an easy earned win. The Raiders played beyond admirable. The refs got flaky for both sides in the second half of this game, or going into the second half. McDaniel showed improvement. Josh Jacobs completely shattered the Chiefs' defense. I don't know why they didn't just run it every single play, because he had a great game in my opinion. Another thing is, obviously we have to talk about it, the roughing the passer call on Chris Jones. And now that I've had almost 24 hours to sit and think on it, and look, I told you while I was streaming this game last night, like everybody in the chat specifically, more so than you, because I know you were doing some things, but I told you last night that I was not hurt and I was not upset about this, and that my statement was, I am more upset about the Brady call than I am the Chris Jones call. And after 24 hours to think about it, I still stand by that. The only issue I have, and I don't even want to put the blame on the referee for this, is because they cannot see every single angle. But the thing that he missed is that the ball was stripped before Carr was on the ground. And that is where that eliminates that penalty. Because the ref, I read the full ref statement, the full interview, I read all of it. He said the reason we call that is because he was in a throwing motion, which is true. But by the time he hit the ground, where that is where the illegal contact comes in, is when the ball was already in Chris Jones' hand, which makes him the offensive player in that situation, which diverts the roughing the passer. Now, the reason it was called is because 100% of Chris Jones landed on 100% of Derek Carr. Even though the refs did not see Chris Jones put his hands down to try to avoid that, it still happened. He got a full body slam on the ground, and that is why it's called. Look, I'm upset because I don't like it, but I am not upset because there are bigger matters, a.k.a. the Tom Brady call, going around in the league right now. Both of these are going to be debated for a very long time, and we're not going to ever stop hearing about it in every single football game. But people have to realize that the refs cannot see every single angle, and I don't like the refs. They've done a very poor job this season, but I have to be somewhat understanding because they do control the football game.
Fair. I really want to. I want to really comment more so than anything. I like Nathan's. KC and Raiders was so much fun to watch. Outside of bad ref calling, everyone needs to stop the McDaniels and Carr hates. We're going to get it right.
I feel like that one was low key towards you. I'm not going to stop hating McDaniels.
Fair, and that's why
you have been trashing Carr, and I've been defending him on Nathan's behalf.
McDaniels called a hell of a game, going against one of the best teams in the league. And you know what? I don't trash Carr. I just don't think Carr's elite. I never have thought he was elite. I don't think McDaniels is a great coach. And to say that
both of these comments right here, like, end of the day, a big guy landing on a smaller guy is going to go in the favor of the smaller guy. And also, judgment calls are tough to watch. Both of those just basically sum that whole situation up right there.
Yes. So to finish what
Yeah,
I
go
had
ahead.
to say about that exact statement is the reason why I think they've played so poorly up until now and haven't won, because they don't have elite at coaching. They don't have elite at quarterback. They have adequate, they have decent, but they're like a lot of teams in the league. They don't have what it takes to get over the top. That can change. Carr is capable of being elite, but he does not perform consistently enough. And McDaniels hasn't been a head coach long enough to actually. It's not hate. It's where they need to improve. Though that team there is the second best team probably right now in the West as far as the way they're playing, because
And
something's wrong with the
roster, in my opinion, if you take out all of the Chargers roster that's injured and what they have on the field, I think the Raiders do have the best roster.
But just I mean that, and that's the thing, and that's what it's always going to boil down to, is that although Derek Carr plays admirable football, he just hasn't never performed well enough to get over the top. He's had a lot of seasons to do so, but he has never took a team on his back and just went out and won a game like what some elite quarterbacks, and what I mean by elite, go and do. And that's the reason why I'm not down on the team. I'm just down on their possibility for winning a Super Bowl.
Now that may be true. I cannot see the future, but
I don't like McDaniels,
it is hard for me to say Derek Carr is going to win a Super Bowl in the same division as Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's just very hard for me to say that, because if you're comparing those two, Mahomes by a mile. But if you start comparing Carr to other quarterbacks, I'm probably going to lift him above a lot of them.
I would say that, like give me a Carr Cousins, I'll take Carr. I like Carr over Cousins, and I know that that's kind of I like Carr over Garoppolo as far as talent goes, but I've never thought Garoppolo or Cousins was top tier talent. I don't, and that's not anything bad. I mean, it's just I think that that's one of those necessary things that you need to win a Super Bowl, unless you have a superior team.
I'm not ruling out that, because the NFL has proved to me that anybody can do anything. The Bengals made it to the freaking Super Bowl last year. Anybody can do anything. Look, that was the biggest shock of last year. This year, right now, through 5, is the Giants is the biggest shock to me. But, I'm not ruling out nothing until it's done. Until it's not possible, I cannot rule it out. But here is Puppet's hot take. Packers lose next week. Mahomes get injured. Cowboys no longer exist. Vikings QB gets injured, and Green Bay laughs about it in the news like they did to Aaron. Next week, finna be fire.
I don't like the sound of a whole lot of that.
I don't like all of that, other than the green or the Cowboys no longer exist statement. Like, that is all I care about in that whole thing. But, welcome, Puppet.
That is true, Nathan.
Mahomes is growing as the season goes, and when you look at the schedule we had, tough teams in the beginning of the year, we had more favorable schedule in the second half. Look, they've got a long way to go. Look, they've got 12 more games. They've won, one game so far. They could still win 9 games. And look, the Dolphins last year went 0-7, then went 7-0. Anything can happen. You still got time to go on a 7-0 run this season.
And here's the other bad thing, and if that was aimed at me, I've picked the Raiders almost every week this year.
Yes, but the only problem with you picking the Raiders is you come in with Carr slander every week this year.
And until
I will own up to the Josh McDaniels slander, because I'm going to continue I'm going to continue until, look, all right, let's talk about the biggest play of this game truly. When the Raiders decided to go for the win, go for 2, instead of kicking the field goal and tying the game. That is the most, outside of refereeing, the most controversial call of the game.
Well, and not that I don't. I like the tie. I like to put where I can know.
Listen, though, the only reason in my mind that they did it is they thought, we have to make the Chiefs go for a touchdown instead of a field goal, even though they would only be up by 1, that they don't trust their kicker. Andy Reid would have put that kicker on the field and given him a shot if they made it far enough. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that was a bad decision, and that's on a young head coach. Like, I'm not going to say he's a young coach in the league, but he's a new coach to this team, which puts him in the same category as a young head coach. And I don't like that decision at all. I think that was the dumbest decision. Either way, take your points. Look, take the points on the road. That's what you say. That's the points you can get because Carlson is money 99% of the time.
And I know that, Nathan. I just, it's just the fun to talk about because that's here in 2 years we may be having the same conversation about Joe Burrow. I mean, honestly, it's really close to that.
People are having that conversation now. It's just weird not having that conversation.
I think that it's on the verge right now. People aren't going to believe it until it goes a little further. But you know what? I think when you're struggling to get wins, you need to put points on the board. I don't think I just don't think that going for the win right there was probably the best play.
But the thing is either way, like, look, the Raiders defense played out of their mind that game. But Either way, 2-minute drill Mahomes there's still a possibility of him just running down the field and put it in an end zone. Don't worry about the kicking issues. Like, don't worry about the other team's issue. Worry about your final score. Worry about your team and what you can control.
Yeah, and that's the fun part about being an armchair quarterback, sitting here talking about it. I'm a conservative guy. I like taking the points.
I'm conservative in certain situations. In a game this tight, every point matters. Because that game, the Chiefs got the stop, which means if they would have taken that point, that game would have went to overtime, right? Yeah. Not saying that they wouldn't have at least tried to win it, the Chiefs, if they got the ball back, but either way, they ended up getting a stop. Like, Adams didn't get the ball control and toes down at the same time, and that would have basically been game right there.
Great game, Brandon.
It was a great game, honestly. But, like, either way, I still think that 1 point mattered because it could have completely changed the outcome of how that game at least ended.
And that's the other thing. When you go into overtime, momentum is huge. In getting that game to overtime, even though Kansas City turned the gas on in the third quarter, making that game go into overtime, and that's kind of where I come back is that it always feels like it's something that there's some kind of issue there. And I'm gonna stick with coaching because I think Rich Bisaccia should have had a shot to coach that team this year because he had a motivated team and he took a motivated team and did great things at the end of last season.
And got him to the playoffs.
Got him to the playoffs, and I think he earned the right to have one season, a chance. But that's just how I feel about it. A lot of people like Josh McDaniels. I don't particularly think that Bill Belichick descendants are doing that well a lot right now, especially because now you've got they always tend to go back and coordinate for him. So I think the Raiders are a good team. I think they're going to get a lot more wins this season. But I think they had a really good opportunity to win this game, and because they do play the Chiefs really tough.
Yeah, I agree. Also, last thing on our slate tonight, I agree I wanted the field goal, but I'm not sure any team wanted OT with how chippy it was. Look, I get that, but at the same time, you're trying to win, and I feel like that was the best shot to do so. Because you still could have turned around and got a stop and been able to drive the ball again. Like, you did get a stop. Like, the Raiders got a stop and got the ball back and had another chance. So, taking that point solidifies that the game's not over.
And here's the other part. You go to overtime, you win the toss, and then you run a post. You run a post with Devontae Adams on first down the sideline. It's better than a 50-50 chance. He could have had an 80-yard touchdown first play. That would be in the cards.
It killed us twice. But on to our next game, our burn burner, our exciting fire of the week, which I hope that I'm in here for because my work schedule and I don't know where you'll be. But Thursday night football preview starts now. We've got the Washington Commanders at the Chicago Bears. Go ahead. Give me your first thoughts because we got a little bit to dive into with this.
Justin Fields
is coming off probably the best game of his Bears career.
Justin Fields gets the win in this game. I'm going to keep going against Washington until they beat me. I'm going to go ahead and take the Bears at home. I don't know what the spread is. I'm getting ready to look.
It's a 1-point spread, and the over-under is 38.
Wow. I'm going to take the Bears for sure in this game, and I think I'm going to lean towards the under in this game as well. I really feel like it is going to be Chicago running the ball all night. They're going to put up 200 yards rushing as a team, and Carson Wentz is going to can't play from behind. He's going to throw some interceptions, and the Bears are going to get a win.
I'm trying to compare. So you're going ahead and jumping and taking the Bears. So I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, I'm getting close to having to wake kids up for work. So,
but look, the thing is if you look at the points, they're almost the same. They have 18 for Washington, 17.2. The Bears rushing the ball very, very well. And in comparison, they're number 5 in rushing yards, but they're number 32 in passing yards. The Commanders are 6th in passing at 278 yards a game, and they're 28th in rushing. So they're fairly comparable. One's a passing team, one's a rushing team. This is going to be Brian Robinson's second game back alongside of Antonio Gibson, who's not really panned out to be the guy they want him to be, but I still think he'll be good. I think it's going to be a close matchup. I think there's going to be at least, if the over-under for touchdowns 2 or 1.5, I'm going to take at least 2 touchdowns in this game. And you know what? You've rode against Washington this whole time. I've rode with them and taken at least 2 L's. So other than the Cowboys game, I didn't even try. But I'm going to take Washington just straight up. I knew that going into this. I think Chicago can win this game. They are at home on a crap field. But both of these teams are used to playing on crap fields. So that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think they're going – wow, Jameson paid $1 billion for this. That's hilarious. You know, to be fair, Chicago does have to put up. Thank you, Brandon. Chicago does have to put up points to win this game. Carson Wentz will score the ball. He will get it in the end zone. He is an adequate quarterback that just folds a lot of the time, and that's the reason why I hate his guts. I think he's cancer for the locker room, and I think he'll put up, like, you know, in the game in Detroit, put up 27 points, but Detroit put up 36. Their defense failed them. They played Philadelphia. They couldn't put up no points, but they gave up 24. So Chicago's going to score upwards of 15 to 20 points in this game, and I just don't know that they're going to put up the same amount.
Well, I've decided that whoever scores 20 wins, but I just felt more comfortable taking a chance on a throw-heavy game to put up more points than this run-heavy game that they're playing against. And my thinking is this past week, Washington lost to Tennessee. We talked about that. But some of the things we didn't mention were, for the first time, they finally get their young receiver, Diami Brown, started. He had 4 targets, 2 receptions for 105. They do have, Scary Terry. They've got Curtis Samuel. They've got, also not only do they have Brian Robinson, who's working his way back in, their rookie, but they do have Antonio Gibson, who can give you yards. And they do have J.D. McKissick, who can get you yards. They've got good tight ends. Like, I like this offense as a whole. Take away the quarterback so much more than I like the Bears offense. If the Washington goes up and scores 7 points at any point in the game, because I don't know when it'll be, but if they get a 7-point lead, Justin Fields can't beat Carson Wentz with his arm.
No. I agree.
And so I think Wentz is going to be able to throw the ball enough times to be able to just get more yards than the Bears' total offense. And at the end of the day, that's what is going to, carry them to this win. I think there'll be touchdowns scored, but let me see. Where is it at? Overall, the Washington offense averages 341 total yards a game. The Bears offense averages 274 yards a game. look, the more yards is going to be more points and means more likely to win. And I can't root against that. I know they've let me down a couple times this year, and a couple times hasn't even been their fault completely. But I really think it's smart also taking the Bears. This is really a coin flip game. It's a 1-point spread. Vegas knows what they're doing when they make this crap. But I have to say, I think Washington. Yeah, John Dotson is still banged up, but like I said, they just brought a new life to Diami Brown, who's finally getting good looks for the first time. I think they drafted him last year, and this is the first time he's truly getting any sort of action that matters.
Hey,
it's good to get your young guys going.
I respect your pick in this game.
Look, I could easily take Chicago, but I don't feel good picking for either of these teams almost ever.
John's asking about J.D. McKissic in fantasy.
Now that Brian Robinson is in, I have Antonio Gibson on my fantasy. I benched him last week. He was my flex, but I benched him last week for Breece Hall. I would still rather take Breece Hall next week than J.D. McKissic, just because you don't know if they've got a third guy that he's a focal point on their offense who's just making it back after the tragic offseason incident where he did get robbed and shot, and he finally healed up and came back. His walkout was super awesome. The video was incredible of him taking the field for the first time and stuff. But I think I like Brian Robinson. He didn't get a whole lot of looks in this game, but I like Brian Robinson over McKissic because they still got Gibson as their number one.
Yeah. Washington's run game hasn't gotten off very well at all either, so he's going to get touches.
And I think that's partially of them playing from behind a lot too.
Yeah, the whole season.
Carson Wentz is a bum, but I think he gets his head right and gets it done. And Ron Rivera's fighting to keep his job, so I feel like this win is going to keep him in the league for a couple more games.
Oh, man. I hope I'm right on this one. I really do.
God. I don't. I want to see that NFC East get even tighter. And I want the fact that I want to see Justin Fields on a new team also.
Hey, as a starter, Justin Fields this year hasn't lost at home. He beat San Francisco at home. We forget. I mean, that's a good defense.
It was a Trey Lance offense, and it was his first, as a starter, not because Jimmy was hurt, but because they believed in him.
I just feel like the Bears are better at home, and I think they're going to win this game.
That's fair. I think they should win this game. They're at home. You're supposed to win your home games. Speaking of, we're not able to get to it tonight, but the Chiefs are underdogs in their home game this weekend for the first time, I think, ever.
I think that's fair.
They're the underdogs for the first time, which means there's going to be a lot of money get put on the Chiefs this week just because of that. You can actually make money. I think it's fair. I'm not going to do it, but
I think Las Vegas knows exactly what they're doing to make them underdogs at home.
Anyway, I just want to point this out. He said, "Do want to say much love. Always love hearing y'all's take on everything." Nathan, I love you sticking it out with me last night. It was a tough game mentally for both of us. And I know by the time the clocks hit 0, it was a mentally tough one for you as well. I didn't even feel that great about it. I had to get off here because I felt like I was going to be sick. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I'm going to get sick. I have to go. I did not feel well, but thank you for sticking out.
This is why we love the NFL and we love having fans of teams in here because, Nathan, man, my gut hurt for you last night when I watched that game. And I know that Alex's gut hurt watching her own team play that game. That was gut-wrenching. It's fun. That's why we do it every week. And you know what? You guys come in here and help us feel better about things, even though it's just a blast. This is as much fun as I've had doing anything in a long time.
I know my camera's a little blurry, but I know we're about to close it down, so you guys are just going to get a blurry Alex for a few minutes. But Clinton said Chiefs don't cover spreads, they win, but they don't care about point spreads. That's a fact. Someone asked me if they should take the Chiefs plus whatever it was last night. I said no, don't do it because it's a waste of money. Like, I don't care about point spreads. I care about wins, and neither do they. But more passing means more chance for picks. But yes, if they score points and put Fields in a position where he has to start passing, that's a bigger chance for him also to throw picks. So this might be an ugly turnover game. We'll see. Two decent defenses. It's going to be a good game on Thursday. Papa Blood leaves for vacation, like I said, during intermission for all of you guys, which I believe all of you are still in here. In about 6 hours, wink, divisional games are always, they have me on edge no matter what the division is. Anyway, so we normally do a Wednesday stream to preview Thursday night football. That probably won't happen. I am off the next 2 days, the next 2 days, I believe. So I might try to do something tomorrow, but don't count on anything coming out from us, especially a live stream tomorrow. It'll be just me. But Thursday night, I'm going to do everything I can to be in here and hang out and watch this exciting football game with you guys, because I know you guys say you like our commentary, but I also thoroughly enjoy your commentary, which is what helps me get through these things. So I'm thankful for you guys. So I can't wait for that. But what day do you get home from vacation?
I will be home sometime Saturday.
If you need a guest host or anything, I'm down. You know how to get a hold of me. I was gonna ask you, and I'm trying to plan out because he's got more than one trip coming up, so I'm trying to balance things out and figure out what I'm gonna do. So I'll definitely be in touch if I need to borrow you. But so all I wanted really to say is don't plan on anything for tomorrow, and if there is anything tomorrow, it's going to be a completely freelance off the wall stream. Maybe I'll run a Q&A just to hang out and we can talk about the games. Keep pumping up Thursday's genre. I'm all here for it. Look, bad games are good for us because that means we have more time to just talk about things that are not related to that game, and we all still have fun. But anyway, I'm going to close this out. Thank you all for sticking out. This was our longest stream that was not a football stream in a long time. Thursday Derby games. So thanks for all, 14, 13, however many of you that are in here that stuck it out the entire 2 hours or from the moment you got here to the end. We appreciate you guys more than we could ever tell you. And so, Papa Blood, enjoy your vacation.
Yes, ma'am.
We will miss you here on It's in the Blood always. And you got any last words?
Go Bears.
That's the worst. Like, famous last words. That's like the last thing you could have said. That was good.
I think they're going to win. Go Bears, man. I can't help it. I got one game at a time.
One game at a time. Puppet, yes, I appreciate you. He said, no, where's my payment? What? What? Okay, I'll figure that out later. But anyway, much love, everybody. Have a safe and good rest of your night. We will see you very, very soon. And go football.
See you Sunday.